Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with It Had to Happen, Bruckner. Yes, with Thielemann. Oh my God. Terrible, awful. Well, I have to say, there's something about this box that seems somehow appropriate. It's crushed. It came dinged. It's peeling. It has sort of a scabrous disease, sort of coming off of it. It's all like dented and crushed and cheaply packaged, and the artwork is primitive and cheap. It sort of reflects where the record industry is today, not caring, not gratifying us with the idea that we're getting something special, which, even people who sell insecticide know how to do, for example. It's just a cheap little doorstop of a box, and it contains cheap little doorstop performances. Actually, what's on the outside reflects what's on the inside. And we've talked about Thielemann and Thielemann's Bruckner. Thielemann is a dreadful conductor in just about everything except a few operas. He's much better in the opera house than he is as a symphonic conductor. He seems to have no clue what to do with a symphonic argument. His aesthetic as a conductor is to look for a nice moment and then milk it and then sort of forget about everything till he gets to the next one. His approach to orchestral discipline is casual. His approach to rhythm is casual. His approach to phrasing is casual. It's all just second rate. Now, let's get to some of the selling points, such as they are in this cycle, which contains, by the way, the Symphony 0 and the 00, the study symphony and the nullified symphony, as if we care. The bottom line is this. The Vienna Philharmonic has never done a Bruckner cycle under a single conductor, which is very interesting. It's not too unusual when you think about it, because the Vienna Philharmonic doesn't have a regular conductor. I mean, they give only a few concerts a year, and they're really the opera orchestra. They choose their conductors, in a catch-as-catch-can basis. So to have the consistency to do an entire Bruckner cycle is something that wasn't going to happen all that frequently. Beethoven cycles, well, that's a little easier because it's only like 5 discs, but this takes more time. Also, the Vienna Philharmonic's reputation as a Bruckner orchestra, as opposed to a Bruckner orchestra, is not what you think it is. The notes talk about, in the booklet, talk about how, the orchestra goes back to Bruckner's own day and they premiered his works and blah, 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 blah. Well, let's not forget, Bruckner was trashed, at least until his rehabilitation by the Nazis. He was never a popular composer. And the premieres he conducted in Vienna were uniformly disastrous. He was despised by the orchestra. He was detested by the Viennese public. His reputation in Vienna couldn't have been lower. So for them to now be saying, Bruckner, Vienna, I mean, it's hypocrisy of the first order. There's absolutely no reason why this orchestra should have any particular authority in Bruckner's music. They did have given excellent performances under individual conductors. The Zubin Mehta Bruckner 9th, the Karl Böhm 3 and 4. They can do it. You can make them do it. They can do anything. They're a great orchestra. But is their feeling for this music in any way special? Of course not. Absolutely not. It's all just nonsense. So let's be clear about that. Then we come to the performances themselves. Well, they have all those qualities, as such they are, or mannerisms that are typical of Thielemann's performances. They are what's the word? Milk toasty. I don't know how you would describe it. They're full of little mannerisms and twitchies and thingies and stuff that stops the music, that prevents climaxes from climaxing, that makes it just really unpleasant to listen to a lot of these symphonies. They really are. I mean, even the brass playing doesn't sound very good, but that's a function of the engineering, which is really random, is the best way to say it. I mean, the sonics are just lousy in this series. They have been from the very beginning. When it first came out, I only reviewed one of these formally. I listened to all of them, but I reviewed only one of them because I just got so disgusted. And that was the fourth, which you can read on classicstoday.com. But let's start at the beginning and go through this and see what we do and what he gives us and whether we care. Well, we don't, but it's all right. So here they all are with these very uninteresting covers. Oh, by the way, these were co-productions with Rolex. So if you get like a bungee cord, you can tape this to your wrist and wear it and show people how classy you were because you got the Rolex sponsored Bruckner cycle. Good for them. All right. So anyway, we start with the Study Symphony in the Novak edition, which is a completely uninteresting work, at least for the most part, and it's performed in a completely uninteresting manner. Symphony number 1, well, this is the Vienna version in the Novak edition, which everybody agrees is inferior to the Linz edition, which now we've learned from the Bruckner people isn't really the Linz edition. So there was the pre-Linz edition, and then the post-Linz edition, and then the who knows how many editions they're going to wind up being. But the Vienna edition is fussy and softer edged in a way that suits a fussy and soft edged performance. Because it just doesn't go anywhere. Number 2, oh my God, what a pain! This is the Zero Symphony, and it's a zero. Yes, totally, in every possible way. Number 2, finally, here we are. This is the 1877 Carrigan edition. Okay, which is has more pauses and it's like longer and it does the coda. I don't know, it does something different from the other 27 editions that Carrigan has been busy promulgating. The trouble with these early symphonies in these performances, quite simply, is that they just go nowhere. I mean, later Bruckner isn't supposed to go anywhere, so I get it. You can sort of get away with it not going anywhere if you hit the big moments. But here, we still have to have some sort of forward thrust. I mean, this performance was such a snooze. Wow, it was boring, especially the finale, which was just, yuck. Third Symphony. This is the Novak 1878 version. Okay. Yeah, okay. And it's also a performance that goes nowhere and does nothing. Especially the first movement in this case. I mean, the Adagio is all right, because that Adagio doesn't have a huge kind of climax. But, yeah, okay. The fourth, well, the Romantic, we talked about that. I mentioned that on classicstoday.com. Lousy performance, lousy recording, fussy pushing after hidden inner voices at the expense of the primary melodic line, all kinds of just time wasting and irritating things. This was recorded at the Salzburg Festival. It has its little Festspiel logo there, and that does that in. Oh, the fifth. Thielemann never got the fifth. Remember, he recorded it earlier for Deutsche Grammophon. Remember that? And then this one came out, and oh my God, his first movement is just the most discombobulated thing you've ever heard. I mean, that's a piece that it's the sort of the acme of Bruckner's block-like approach to form, where you have individual ideas and individual tempo areas, and they have to be clearly differentiated, and you have to be able to somehow project the larger architecture, which is absolutely what Thielemann is the worst in the world at. He usually manages to peg the very end, and the very end here isn't too bad, but everything that comes before it. I mean, the scherzo, it's interminable. The slow movement isn't that slow, but you think it's never going to end. It really is just insane. Number 6. This was the one that, Bruckner said it was his liveliest symphony. It should have punch and energy and vim and vigor. And this somehow is lightweight, but not vigorous. That's an achievement. That really is, to make it sound somehow superficial and flaccid at the same time. Okay, 7. 7. This is the first of Bruckner's big transcendental symphonies, and Thielemann knows it's transcendental, and you just can tell he's waiting for like the coda of the first movement and the climax of the adagio, none of which really climax because the sound is so lousy. The engineering is so dull and lacking in brilliance and brightness on top. I mean, Bruckner is not all dark and gloom and German heaviness. There's Austrian lightness. There's Edelweiss. There's climb every mountain. There's the hills are alive with the sound of music, right? I mean, there's that in there too. And the funny thing about this is that in his eagerness to be transcendental, like have those gorgeous organ-like chords at the ends of the movements, he really messes up his timing. If you listen to the end of the first movement of the seventh, and the sixth is the same thing too, by the way, it's do 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 do, and then the timpani go boom, and then the last chord happens. It's boom, it ends. I mean, the timing is just not right. It's not together. Gosh. The eighth, he does a good eighth. He always did a good eighth. His Staatskapelle Dresden live recording on Profil was very, very good, except where he had ideas. Then it sort of went south, but there were only a couple ideas because he's not big on ideas. They just pop in and pop out, and they don't really do much. This is the Haas edition, theoretically, although the harp arpeggio and the adagio seems not to have shown up. I like the Haas edition of the eighth because you get more music. I mean, what the heck? As much as the current Bruckner people are currently, I mean, that sounds terrible, doesn't it? But they're dumping all over Haas because he did some pastiche composing and added some things and twiddled it. That sounds fine to me. It's not bad. It just doesn't sound very good because the sonics are off. The ninth. This is a very unimpressive performance of the ninth. The three-movement Novak version. This is another one of those Salzburg Festival things. And those things they sound worse than the things that were done in the Grosser Musikverein Saal, or whatever the heck that room is called where they do these things. It really is it suffers from Thielemann's habit of neglecting the long line everywhere, and at the same time underplaying the climaxes, keeping the brass always somehow on a tight leash, muted somehow. It's just not good. Not good at all. And then we have his quotations. Let's talk about his quotations. One might think that Bruckner, with his Catholic faith, his hierarchical thinking, and the monumentality would remain a timeless phenomenon. Christian Thielemann takes a different view. Okay, he's not timeless and he's not a phenomenon. That's a good place to start, isn't it? All right. Quote, if you drag someone who's not really prepared for it to a performance of Bruckner's eighth, there'll certainly be some people who are left completely clueless by the experience. Well, like Christian Thielemann, for example. But I think that Bruckner is a particularly good fit for the present age, when everything is getting faster and faster, with more and more of everything. Bruckner says, quote, practice moderation and stop what you're doing, unquote. He forces us to slow down and to introduce a ritardando into our lives, since you can't assimilate this music at speed or when feeling high-spirited. Oh? Everything that you need for other composers, a certain nervous tension, is completely out of place with Bruckner. Don't you love it when these people open their mouths and they say things that are so illogical and nonsensical and meaningless that you really do question whether their interpretations have anything else to give us? I mean, imagine he's taking this statement and applying it to his performances of the symphonies. Well, now we know why they're such utter failures, because his mind is full of gibberish and his view of the music is nonsensical. And so the interpretations are completely unconvincing. I mean, it's as simple. It's right here in black and white. Thielemann regards Bruckner's symphonies as a form of therapy. Okay, what kind? As primal scream therapy? Anyway, as an exercise in concentration, and also as an antidote to today's culture of diversion. Quote, so I now have to sit here for 90 minutes, never picking up the telephone or typing. That's what he does in his spare time, typing. Instead, I have to submit to the matter at hand. This is hugely important to me. Well, for him, maybe for the rest of us. This is especially true of the moments of silence and the long rests of the whole orchestra that are used to create a feeling of tension and that are almost shocking, a dizzying glimpse into the abyss. There's always an abyss when Germans talk about music. You ever notice that? They're always hovering over an abyss. You just wish they would dive in and shut up about it. Okay. This is why Bruckner is so topical, Thielemann emphasizes. The more racket there is in the world, the more topical Bruckner becomes. What? First of all, I despise people who think about classical music as an antidote to life. I mean, I really do. That's not what that is. It's not an antidote to life. I mean, who look down on everything about today's life, its culture, its things. I mean, if people didn't want what we have in life, it wouldn't be that way. Isn't that true? I mean, reasonably. I mean, obviously there are things in our culture people don't like. There are things people may not like about the modern world. There's all kinds of grumpiness about that kind of nonsense, but it is what it is. And the music is not something that you indulge in order to negate your life, the things in your life that you like. I mean, the things that go faster, that go slower, or that make noise. Bruckner makes plenty of noise. Well, not in these performances. He doesn't make enough noise. That's part of the problem. And what fascinates me is that Thielemann claims that he's topical because of the way he opposes our lives, not in the way he complements them. He somehow illuminates things in our lives. No, none of that. It's because it's somehow an antidote. What they said, it was an antidote. They said, some sort of way to. Oh, forget it. Why am I even wasting time talking about it? It's ridiculous. This is possibly the worst Bruckner cycle to come out so far, and that's pushing it, because we just talked about Andres Nelson's loathsome Bruckner cycle. The Bruckner year is progressing. There's always the possibility there will be worse. In fact, I know there's going to be, but we'll get to that when it happens, I think. In the meantime, do yourself a favor. Skip this. Keep on listening, friends, to other things, and take care. Let me see if I can figure out how to turn this off. Oh, there it is. It was the antidote to, quick endings of video talks.